The MTG podcast is a virtual space for women and minorities in the tech and creative industries.
Tune in as we explore inspirational,
educational,
and community insights
through different perspectives, expanding the diverse cultures and societies that reflect us.
We're more than a designer.
We're more than our name badge.
We're more than the work we produce. Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast.
We're that tribe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the More Than Graphics podcast. I'm Danielle, and I'm a techie.
I'm Priscilla, and I'm very creative.
And together, the two of us make up this unanimous tribe that we call MTG. And I'm really excited about this particular episode because we have a lot going on. But if you don't know already, this is the end of the year, right? This is our very last episode of 2024. Hurrah, all the things.
We did.
I feel very confident that as we talk about this episode, it's going to really roll into this beautiful theme of what's going to roll into for 2025. So I want you to take what's happening in this episode today and really compact it. Just put it in a little bubble, and then also put it on top of what's going to come, because I do feel like these conversations are going to be very, 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 very close and powerful. You're going to need one to build the other. So whatever that is, I just want you to hold on to that. Okay, there, I said it. How you doing, Priscilla? How's life at this point?
Great, very exciting. You know, there's a lot of very exciting things happening.
I know, right? Yes. I'm so glad that you said it that way.
You know what? Let me just tell you a side thing. I have to whisper it just in case my printer hears it. I think that my HP printer is like in cahoots with Alexa, because neither one of them like me. I sit there and I talk to her and nothing, but my son's over in the other room whispering something, and I'm like, I feel so like unseen, and it's just complex. Thankfully, the cricket was to my rescue today.
That's so funny. You got inner chatter in your inner office. Ooh. Not like Chatty Cathy, you know.
Rise of the machines.
Right, literally. Oh gosh. Okay, so not a lot really happening in this circle of the world, just kind of getting through all the things around the holidays, you know, all the relations, all the family gatherings, all of the things that we kind of dread, you know, sometimes around the holidays, but when it comes to family gatherings, but also some of the things that I hold close, which is the solitude. I enjoy the just sitting still, watching the fire run, like watching the fire burn, things along those lines. Those are the little things that I just find personal peace in. But beyond all of that, today's episode topic is vision. So I'm visually seeing this fire kindling right now. And like today's guest has plenty, not only for vision for marketing and strategy, but just in everyday living. So I'm really excited that we get to talk about this topic of vision. But roundtable question: what do you think when you think of vision, Priscilla? When you think of vision, what do you think of?
Everything. I just think of everything.
I think aerial scope. Like I do the whole like, you know, matrix zoom in, zoom out kind of feel. Like that's where my brain goes when I think of vision. Like I don't just focus on little details. But I could also see
like in a 360, that's 360, right? Math. Hello. You know, the vision is like seeing all, because, you know, as Ben, you will find out, I am the mother hen of the group. And so I'm always very reflective. So as upon my next year of life coming up soon, I will, vision for me is a very forward, backwards kind of global thing.
I like that.
That's what I do.
A pendulum kind of feel. I like that. Deep. Ben is the owner of Balbert Marketing LLC. He's also the curator of the Real Business Connections Network. If you guys haven't checked that out, please do so. Ben, welcome to the show.
Excited to be here. Vision. I joked about this before we came on. Like, there's two kinds of vision. There's like big vision, and then there's eyeball vision. And I feel like, am I in the right seat? I'm like your boring, pasty white dude. Am I at the right guest today?
Yes, you are.
Ben. Yes. Look, short answer, yes. Two of us confirmed it. Yes, you are the person. for vision, which I think is very interesting that you pointed that out.
Eyeballs.
Okay, so eyeball vision. One of the things that like we talked a little bit earlier about this, like one of the reasons why I was so wanting to have you on the show was primarily focused on the way that you go about, if you will, mansplaining a lot of marketing. I really love the fact that you take a lot of pride in keeping it very layman terms so that someone better understands how they can equivalate their brand strategy for the next year, or even take a deeper dive into better constructing strategy for their business. You've done a lot of personal talks across a lot of stages in different places, where people can gather and talk more about marketing. But I think personally for me, rewatching and watching your live specifically with Christo was really cool. I really loved being able to see how well you've continued to market yourself, but also market how people can think smarter about their business, or whatever business that is, for their platforms, for their livelihood, but also specifically for their brand, whether it be personal or for business. So that's the reason why I was really super eyeballing you, vision, for this particular topic.
Can we talk about tunnel vision for a second?
Yes.
You know why I had Christo on my show, other than that he's amazing? And you know why I have a podcast? And I know why this is a big part of why you two do this podcast, is because we don't want to have tunnel vision. We want to open up our peripheral to people that can help us, the who's in this world, to build our tribe. Like that's what you guys are doing right here. And the more we just see what's right in front of us, the more we see the possibilities, the 360 possibilities, the better we can serve not just ourselves, but everybody around us. And by serving everybody around us, we get all we need as well. I had never thought about that, but when I was younger and I just wanted to be a basketball player, I had tunnel vision and I didn't know where my life would take me. But as I've started to gain better peripherals, cool stuff have happened. So you mentioned Chris Doe, you guys have had incredible people on this podcast. It's all about broadening those horizons for me. It's about learning stuff I didn't know if I didn't connect and communicate with people that knew things I didn't know. That's what I'm all about.
I love it. And it still looks like a really badass Matrix move. Okay. Like it's the whole, whoa, like it's all of that. I still love that vision for you. But okay. But truly, I'm wanting to know how you define vision. And I think you kind of gave a good example of that just now, like the peripherals, right? Being able to see something up close, but also being able to zoom out and see the scope and range.
I don't know if I have a good definition for vision. You can tell that I didn't come with a keynote on it. I'm just here to talk to y'all. Because vision is such a, are we talking about the ability to be seen, like visibility? Or are we talking about the ability to see? Because there's two different things. Good vision is seeing the unseen. Good visibility is my brand's so big and powerful that everybody sees it. So there's the vision of seeing, but there's also the visibility of I can't not be seen. So there's a lot we can unravel here with this word. I know that to be a fact.
Oh, that was cool. I love that. Let's focus on the ability to see. How would you define that?
The ability to see. Oh my gosh, you guys are giving me questions I've never had before in this specific way. Because it's hard to describe. And you talked about layman, like I'm just a layman, like I can't complicate it. So I'm trying to think the simplest way to take a really existential, complicated thing. It's reading between the lines. Like there's what you see, and then there's what you see a layer deeper. It's like an onion. You just keep peeling back more and more and more layers. So there's what we see, but it's also what we hear. And by listening, and like I can see like the way y'all dress, I can see the way you present yourself or the things you post online. But the second layer is when we have a conversation, like what lights someone up?
Yes.
What is their why? And in a business context, how can I bridge the gap to get them from where they are to where they envision themselves to be? And it's usually not just me looking at them and judging them. It's getting to that deeper level of who they are and how I can show up in this world to serve them. So yeah, I'm talking about business in that example, but it's every interaction. There's the vision of seeing them, but the second, like the superpower vision is to see inside somebody. And nobody has that power. But if we use our words, we use our listening, we use our actions, I feel like we can develop.
That was so awesome. Like, I'm just like, wow.
I don't even know what I just said.
Philosophical thought right there. Okay, seriously though, like I absolutely love what you're saying though, because we have to make the intention to see something different too. And I think that's what you are really trying to edge on here a little bit about, is like the intention of seeing is also the intention of seeing through, seeing forward, seeing ahead, but also being able to look more introspectively as well, looking inward. These are all so important things when we talk about vision, because a lot of people just feel like vision's like what? Like looking at what am I doing in the next 3 months? What am I doing in 6 months? What am I doing next week? Can I figure out what I'm doing next week?
You pinpointed, I think the inside is more important than the just seeing like I can make myself look like I have a great brand, but it's the service I deliver to my clients that makes me have a good brand. So the visual is only like the top of the first thing people see. But the second layer is creating an experience for people so good that they become cheerleaders. Like that's the goal, in my opinion.
Yes, me too. I feel like that's definitely a small business goal for me. I have technically 3 small businesses, and it's really interesting for me over the years, being a business owner of 15 years as of Monday, being able to come from this perspective of wanting to find cheerleaders, not just clients, but people who truly believe are loyal to your brand, that they would devoutly pour out themselves for you just because they're loyal to the brand. And so that for me is like so spot on with vision, with hopefully my hopes and dreams, desires for my small business in 2025 is to find more cheerleaders. I think that's the goal for any small business. They want to find and meet more cheerleaders that will be able to cheer on their business, even in places and spaces when they don't or can't. Other people are doing it on their behalf. That's good marketing to me. That's having a very strong vision for your brand.
Congrats on 15 years, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
She was just a little baby in preschool when she started.
Oh my goodness, yes. I had a lot more curly hair, less dreads, less moles, like a lot of all those things. But yeah, so Priscilla, I kind of wanted to like segue into, I'm sure, one of your questions. We talk about, stories, and kind of what things Ben has been able to kind of up and rise from based upon some of the inner stories that he may want to share with us today.
Okay, so can you share with us a time when you had to grow up or grow out of something and what it taught you, like with that vision?
I had to grow up and grow out of something?
Yes.
Oh my, I gotta grow up and grow out of things right now.
I understand that. But is there any particular story for you?
Wow. A big thing was during the pandemic, which we're going into 2025. It's like, it blows my mind that happened when it did. And it blows my mind that I am where I am, because I never imagined I would have made the progress I've made to get me to where I am today. Right before the pandemic, I had just started a brand new role at a marketing firm. I was a sales executive at this large firm from Rochester, New York. I'm on the 14th floor of a gorgeous building that's like in the photos of Rochester. I've got my own little, it's not like a specialized spot, but I got my own parking pass to go park in the parking garage. I'm wearing like a suit, dressing nice, like, and if you had asked me anything, I would have told you I had made it. But behind the scenes, I'll be transparent. No one's came and locked me up yet. I was self-prescribing Xanax and I was over drinking. And basically every Monday, I would take a Xanax just to get through the meetings. But I would have still told you that I had made it. But I clearly hadn't. So when the pandemic hit, it was, last one in, first one out. I had just started, I had got let go pretty quickly. And then everything that I had built up to lead me to that place in my career was completely stripped of me. And it was my own fault. I had no savings and I had no plan B. So I went from, Ben's such a kick butt person, even though I was lying to myself. That's why I give the Xanax example. Like I was pretending like I was crushing it, to having what felt like nothing. And I didn't see Ben today at that time. I didn't realize any of this was even possible. I don't think I've accomplished anything compared to what I could in the long term, but I've accomplished a lot of crap in the past 4 years, just one day at a time. And I never imagined I'd be here today, but it was in that middle of difficulty, in that sob story that honestly was months of me like binge drinking, knowing what to do, but not doing it. One day at a time, I was able to get out of that darker place, start my own business, not 15 years yet, but we'll get there. And do what I love every single day of my life. And now it's like, dang, the reason I bring up, like, it's been 4 years. Like, come on, man. Like, let's do another 4. Let's go.
Well, yeah,
I feel that. Yeah.
no, I was saying, I think that my favorite thing is I always out of you can't really. I always say, like, we can't have any of this good stuff without the whole bad and good and evil and all that stuff, right? And I don't want to say I loved quarantine, whatever like that, but I think there's so much that grew out of that. Everybody became the same playing field. Like, I know you got kids running around there in the backyard too, and running around. And I think it was a time that everybody got to sit and reflect, and you had to do new visions, right? You had to think about, what is it that I'm going to do with myself? Like, yeah, you are in those places in which you might have just like started a new job, and then what are you going to do? Or I had a friend who, she got let go probably, a little bit before that. She went off and she just try to travel some places and stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah. But it's nice having those stories to keep us not only just real, but it's nice to have that reminder, of how far we've come. Because it's like, if we see, and we do have a false front that some people don't see. And, like, yeah, like you're saying, from up front, people are thinking that, oh, you've got it all together, but behind the scenes, not so much. But even just looking, you'd never think. I mean, but really, what does the typical person who has a problem look like? Now, that commercial that they have about which one of these people have depression? And, it's kind of like that, right? So, yeah.
Oh, that's a great illustration. Which one of us has, XYZ, and the faces all look genuine, right? Like, right. I mean, but it's so genuine. That's a great way of kind of approaching marketing, because everyone technically, has something, but at the same time, everyone puts on a face. Like you said, they put on a mask, they put on a face, they put on a certain air about them so that it doesn't appear as if they have that issue. A lot of times, marketing is solving problems, right? It's a problem solving strategy constantly. So we're constantly kind of having to look beyond those faces and having to look beyond those protocols and find and dig to get the real information so that we can better understand how to help people. So yeah, I love the fact that you say that, Priscilla, because I feel like that's a great illustration. Which one of you has depression? like, I'll just hold that. I'll keep holding my hand.
I'm getting tired here. Right?
Okay. So I had a question in general, talking more about yourself. You mentioned in your bio that you hardly spoke for the first 13 years of your life. How did that experience shape your vision of yourself and your future? And did it influence your drive to amplify other people's voices?
Yeah, I mean, if I had a superpower, it would have been invisibility. I was the king of hiding and not stepping up and not really feeling like I didn't know what vision was. I didn't have any. I just wanted to fit in, but I didn't know how. And I mentioned basketball a minute ago. Like I wanted to be the next Michael Jordan. That was my number one vision. Be the next Michael Jordan. But I was the shortest boy in the entire school of hundreds of boys. It was a pretty large school. Second shortest individual behind a little girl named Olivia Lee. So I didn't grow up to be a basketball player. So imagine a small kid playing a tall person sport. And over time, I got picked on. I got bullied. I was a creative type. I wasn't like the smooth talker. So I was just kind of oddball. So I was really good at being invisible. And I even remember sitting at the dinner and no fault to anybody. I have the greatest family ever. But one thing I noticed at the dinner table is everybody was hunched over, like slouched. My mom had a neurological disorder. My dad had a little bit of a drug addiction. My brother has diabetes. And I'm sitting there and we're all slouched over. And I'm the shortest person I know, my age. And I'm making myself smaller. And I don't know this at the time, but I realize now I didn't know any better. And the only reason I tell that story is I've felt that way. I know what it feels like to feel invisible. I know what it's like to physically be small and make myself smaller. So you mentioned amplifying other voices. Like I didn't realize I was doing this, but when I became a music promoter before I ever knew what marketing was, and I started handing out flyers, and we're dating ourselves, but I was setting up MySpace pages, then it was Facebook. I did that because I wanted to elevate a good thing. I wanted to amplify a good thing. I didn't want a good thing to be muted. And the one thing I struggled with that I'm still learning, and it wasn't until I started my own podcast and started marketing myself that I realized this. I was really good at amplifying other people, but I was still trash at amplifying myself. I still had that imposter in me. So we joked like I'm still working on stuff today. I'm still trying to get that imposter out of me. Because everybody's like, Ben, you should be louder. You should have him. I'm like, I'm the guy behind the loud person, y'all. Like, I don't have to be loud. But maybe that's imposter syndrome. Steve Jobs had a Wozniak too, though. Like, there's nothing wrong with being an advocate for someone else, but you also need to be an advocate for yourself. So I'm still learning that.
Ben, I feel like we're like Wonder Twins activate. Danielle, did you feel that way? I mean, I'm actually the shortest person too. I'm going to say you're probably Michael Jordan in comparison to I am. And people call me a pocket designer. So, but
designer in my pocket.
Yeah, I know. Really. No, but I mean, I really, a lot of what you said, it really resonated with me because I feel, I in which, we've talked about that a lot too, Danielle, about, always creatives are always imposter syndrome, regardless. That's kind of should go under as our title.
Yes.
Imposter.
Creative imposter.
Ooh, my friend has the Impostrix podcast. Shout out to you, Whitney. Impostrix. But it's for social justice and social impact. Impostrix. But I love the fact that you say that though, because I do feel like that's a lot of the things that we talk about that constantly rotates in circles around the podcast is how do we denounce imposter syndrome? How do we dethrone it? How do we conform it? And one of our guests, I think not on this episode, but a previous one recently with Dana James, Mwange, and she specifically said that the best way to kind of defunnel or deflate imposter syndrome is to show up with facts, right? The things that you have done, showing up with the things you have, the results deflate doubt quick. That's exactly what she said. So maybe that is a way that we can, continue to address the way that we think about vision, right? Sometimes vision gets ahead of us, and it becomes more of a decompression or even an echo chamber of some of the things that we never really intend to say to ourselves, but we're constantly facing ourselves with. So I really kind of think that looking at the results and using that as a way to deflate the doubt could be a really good way to progress through a positive vision for ourselves and for our companies and brands.
You know why that's so smart, Danielle? I feel like if you have a vision for who you want to be, how you want to act, what you do, how you do it, the results you bring, and you don't actually match that vision with action, that'll make you feel like an imposter because you know you told someone to do something you're not doing. But if you're in alignment that I do what I say I'm going to do, and when I make a recommendation, it's a recommendation I do myself, you're not going to be an imposter because you're in direct alignment with what you say, what you do is aligned. And I found in the past, the times I felt most like an imposter is I would talk about like health and wellness, but I had a drinking problem. So what the hell is Ben talking about health and wellness when he's drinking a cocktail? But once you have that alignment, the person I always want to listen to is the person who's in direct alignment with what they say. So if they do what they say, and first off, none of us are perfect. Like we got to have like reasonable standards. But if you do the best you can to do what you say, I don't know if the imposter syndrome goes away. One thing my friend Renee Rodriguez likes to say is the butterflies don't go away. We just got to learn how to help them fly in formation. And that's all we're trying to do.
That is beautiful. I'm going to illustrate that later in socials. That's so gorgeous. Thank you for that. I'm going to tag you in that because I think that's just awesome. Very quickly. Oh, Priscilla, your next question. I'm sorry.
Oh, screen. It's like, this is one thing. Cicely and I can never find where the mute button is, and I can never find out how to reduce my screen to go. Skip over. Go ahead. I'll figure out how to get back in there.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more as we talk about your career specifically. You talked about starting an empty bottle, staring. I'm sorry. You talked about staring at an empty bottle of Jim Beam and wanting to find out the silver lining in the pandemic. And we talked a little bit about the pandemic and how you were able to kind of, maneuver through that a little bit. Can you elaborate on how that moment of reflection clarified your vision for what you want to achieve?
Yeah. It's kind of counter what a lot of people say. We talk about self-care. We talk about success. I feel like it's always add a meditation routine, add a journaling, a action plan, hire a VA, this, it's always adding something. It's always doing something. I had added everything. I was optimized to hell in so many different ways. I was meditating, I was exercising, I was doing visualization rituals, I was reading nonfiction, stuff that was making me better. I was writing the whole shabam. But when I would do my morning affirmations, I was like looking in the mirror and saying things like, you're good enough now and you're only getting better. You're an open channel for creative ideas. You act as if you already have what you want. I was looking myself in the mirror and I actually didn't believe myself because I was bloodshot. I was tired. I was stressed. And I felt like I was lying to myself because I was affirming things, but I was doing actions that were proving that those things might not be true. So my big aha moment was that I didn't have to add anything more. I just had to start subtracting things. I was hanging out with a lot of the wrong people. I was consuming. My dad had a drinking problem. It's all I knew my whole life. I was consuming too much alcohol. I had bad tics and habits. Staying up late. That's a big thing with a music lover. I wasn't getting enough sleep. And I didn't actually have to add anything. I just had to start subtracting those things. And what's beautiful is when you subtract stuff, you actually have more time to add good stuff. But that's like round 2. But everybody's like self-care. I want to go to the spa, or I want to meditate, or I want to get a massage, and do all these things are good. But what I think is more important is actually subtracting the toxins you got going on in your life, the toxins in your business. Like, if you're not focused, if you're not energetic, if you're not showing up and doing a good job, you're not going to be able to impress your clients. Like we talked about, get cheerleaders, show up as your best self. But it's usually not a new strategy. It's usually just getting rid of your bad habits. And I didn't realize that until they got really bad. But now, like, I've been more of an essentialist. Like, I'm super minimal. I try to do less things, but I try to do more, try to have more meaning in the things I do. And the things that don't serve me or my vision for my life and the people around me, I'm not perfect, but I do my best of getting rid of that stuff. I'm still learning every single day.
I am definitely taking notes here. This is an area where I'm literally starting to fall better in alignment with the things that I know I need to subtract from. I've added a lot of things similar to you. I had all kinds of things. I'm optimized out the yin yang. I am like AI everything. And I love the fact that I lean so much on technology because it is a good forefront for other people who are completely non-technological savvy at all. And I love that I could be that example for them. However, introspectively, I have to also take account for myself and my brand and my vision. And, you know, there's people, place, and things that don't necessarily correlate anymore with that goal. And I have to be the one to say it has to start with me, right? It can't start with somebody else. It has to start with me. So I have to take that self-inventory and start removing, deducting, taking away. And I'm really in that process. And I think it's for everyone too. Like toward the end of the year, we always take inventory, right? At that time of year, the new year's coming, like things are coming right around the corner. New things are right around the corner. And I say abbreviation because really new for me is just like myself minus 3 things. And which is still me. I'm new, but it's still me. I think that that's very important to kind of address for a lot of small businesses and brands who are listening to this podcast. They are seeing ways and avenues that, yes, new things, new shiny things could be helpful to them. But really, in retrospect, looking at the things that we can subtract gives us greater dividends than what we can add on. So I just really feel like that's a very, very powerful statement that you made, Ben. I really appreciate your wisdom for that.
Yeah, there's always going to be new shiny things. What's crazy is you might already have shiny things right in front of you. You just haven't like actually shined them. You haven't like chiseled it a little bit. Like you haven't actually amplified and put the effort into the stuff that's already working yet. You're trying to go do something new, but you already have gold right in front of you. Like, oh man, if I knew that in all my relationships, my life would have been way easier. But anyways.
It's like Ben, he's like talking right at me, Danielle. I was like personally attacked.
He's eyeing you hard, like hard.
You know? Okay.
Can I tell you guys why I'm like not afraid to share some of this kind of stuff?
Sure.
Do tell.
Some people are gonna hate me. Some people aren't gonna like me. That's just like the way of the world. I can't like make. I would kind of wish everybody loved me, but it's not possible. But I share these things because I want people to be able to sit up and be like, I feel heard, I feel seen. Because most of us have these kind of things going on, but we're afraid to talk about it. I'm just trying to open a space where like, I'm just going to talk about it just to give permission people like we can all talk about these kind of things. We're good.
Well, I'm glad because we love talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Cool.
Absolutely. This is the heart of our podcast. This is exactly what, yes.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of this hard stuff. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced, you know, in your vision of your business and stuff? And how'd you get over that?
Clarity is a big thing. Like we talked about like the before vision, like I'm working in this role. I'm going to work my way up into the company. At one point I was in a lead generation business development role. Then I'm in a sales executive, more of a closing top of the ladder role. And you're like moving up. Imagine like the mountains, like we're climbing up the mountain and then we get to the top of the mountain and we're like, it's ugly up here. Now, granted, you're still I'm a firm believer of enjoying the journey no matter what. Like that's key. But I got to the top of the mountain and I realized I was in the wrong place. So, and part of it is like just clarity on what we want. And I think part of why I was in the wrong place is because I was climbing someone else's mountain. I wasn't climbing my own mountain. I was doing what someone else told me to do. And I don't know if I have perfect clarity, but I looked at the things that were like constant in my life. Like, I was a big music advocate. I loved listening to podcasts. I loved advocating for other people. At the time of 2016, I was just getting started in the marketing world. And in 2016, I started a music podcast that was local to highlight local creatives. And then did the corporate stuff. And then when 2020 came, all those experiences and interest didn't go away. I just pivoted from Music Ben, who was broke, unemployed, like didn't have vision for what's next, and leaned into what I knew. Love podcasting. Business Ben's an entrepreneur. So I pivoted from Music Ben, who was a non-essential person during a pandemic, to Business Ben, who's an entrepreneur, pivoted from a music podcast to a business podcast. All my production skills, my podcasting, my marketing, my whole story, none of that disappeared. But I wasn't utilizing my skill sets clearly. I didn't have vision for what Ben wanted. So I was taking those skills and I was doing it in a category that I was climbing someone else's mountain. And then when you start getting better clarity on what you want, which I wish it was easy that we could just do this in 45 seconds, like it's a lifelong journey to figure out what I want. But once I started putting my chips on me and put my chips on like clarity for me and not the other guy or gal, suddenly things started to become more clear. And I still don't got 2020, but I'm working on getting more and more clear on my purpose every single day, because it helps me show up better for my clients and it helps me build a better brand. If I know what I stand for, it's way easier to project that for people. But if I don't know what I stand for, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm like blurred out brown mushy mush, like I no color scheme or anything. What happens when you take all the colors together? You just get mush.
It's that 16-bit video, blur that puts on that you show up with. They started with cops and now you're like, it's on viral everywhere. I think that's what I think of when you explain that. I was like, whoop, yeah, I know that.
100%.
Okay. Priscilla, did you want to, I want to be mindful of time. Do you want to ask one last question?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could get to our little fast.
We got time. We got time.
Okay, so what did you want to be what did you want to be? Like when you're growing up, did you say, I mean, I know you're talking about, but before the earliest Ben, like, I know some people, they don't like, oh, what do I want to be? I actually had a conversation talking with my daughter the other day saying, like not a lot of people are in the same fields as what they wanted to when they were younger and stuff. I think I'm one of the few, at least that I know, that I'm in the same kind of field continuously. But when you were younger, what did you want to do besides basketball, besides being a basketball player?
I'm so sorry this is coming to mind.
That's okay.
You said the earliest. I'm like, I just wanted like to be in my mother's arms, just up in there in my mother's arms, maybe getting some milk. Like that's what I just wanted to be with my family. It went from family.
Yeah.
I'm going way back in time. Yeah, basketball was a big thing. Then since I was a weirdo, I didn't really fit. I wasn't a jock. So music was my other big thing. So it was kind of basketball, music. And nowadays, like I love nature and camping. I love marketing and podcasting. It's like the business end of thing. One thing though is like I don't like have like little hobbies. I'm like a very obsessed person. So I was like 1,000,000,000% obsessed with basketball. Then I was 1,000,000,000 obsessed. Like I stopped even caring about basketball. I was all into music. And now I'm almost like unhealthily obsessed with my business. But I go all in is the reality. Yeah. I don't even know what I want to be when I grow up. I guess we'll see. Well, what do you guys want to be? I don't know.
I don't want to grow up. That's my thing is I'm not growing up. Obviously, I'm actually, gosh,
Like physically, like, oh no.
You're growing.
I know. That's the other day. My boyfriend, he has hokas, and I keep telling him all the time. I'm like, "Are you getting taller?" And then I realized that I'm actually probably am getting smaller. Then in December I had some fusion. I had some fusion done back there, so I think I already am a little bit shorter because they took out one of the vertebrae. So yeah.
What's a hoka?
Oh, sorry. Hoka tennis shoes, sneakers.
Oh, they're tennis shoes. Do they got like thick soles?
They got
Yes.
extra soles on
Okay.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, when I was younger, I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be the next Black Katie Couric. That was me. I thought I was going to be like this cool producer for a big giant news company. I wanted to be probably where you are in Rochester, New York, covering some like major news story or development, working for some major, TV, NBC, CSNBC, something along those lines. And I fell in love more with graphic design. I fell in love with laying out pages and putting together the imagery more so than writing stories. And so that's when I decided to take a seat back and no longer pursue journalism and technical theater, but take those same skill sets and apply them to graphic design, where now I design other cool things with the same skill sets.
You could still come to, there's a lot to talk about in Rochester. If you want some drama or come to Rochester, you could be a journalist quick.
I might dip my toe in some waters. Maybe we'll try it out.
My favorite thing, I know this is a tangent, but it was a few years back. Our mayor's husband got in trouble because he had all these drugs and guns in his house. And the mayor was all like, "Oh my God, how dare he? I had no clue." I'm like, come on, man. Like, you knew that he had those drugs and those guns. Like,
Right.
come
I
on.
showed you yesterday. You just didn't see it.
She's in on that. Like, let's be real. Like, just corruption going on here sometimes,
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine.
It's like Gotham.
Ooh,
Ooh, yeah, I wish it was more like Gotham.
She went right there. Wow. Okay.
Here's me on a tangent. Then I was like, Gotham. I'm like, I think about how dark it was and I couldn't see and I wanted the vision. I remember watching that first one. I was just like, I can't get into this. I don't know what's going on. I have to got to use my hearing. Oh yeah. Okay. This is good.
Well, I will say their updated adaptation of The Penguin is doing really well. It's a huge, I love it. It's a great show. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Hashtag give us a code or something, promo, something. That would be great. Affiliates. So I personally just wanted to, again, thank you for your time, your energy, all the things, because I know this is your personal time that you're taking with us to share wisdom and nuggets with all of us. Is there any final words or things that you would like to share with our following to follow you, to connect with you, do all the things in and around your podcast?
Yeah, well, first off, this is how I like to spend my personal time. So I appreciate y'all having me here. The one thing I always encourage a listener to do is Ben wouldn't be here. None of this would be possible without our hosts. So if they haven't clicked subscribe, if it's on YouTube, hit the like up, leave a comment if you can, 5 stars, review, anything. Do one little action. I'm rambling on purpose because you have no excuse. Click subscribe right now because, we got to support creatives. That's huge. And if you want to support me, you can just type in the words Real Business Connections wherever you found this. Show some love here and just type in Real Business Connections or Google it. And I promise you'll find me. And if you don't, I'm a terrible marketer, so I wasn't meant to be found anyways. But Real Business Connections is how you find me.
And we'll share all of this also in the show notes for the show. So whether you're listening from Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, we really appreciate having you on the show, Ben. Well, thanks everyone for tuning into the More Than Graphics podcast. For exclusive emails and comprehensive episode details, Definitely check us out at mtgthepodcast.com. That's not for Magic the Gathering. That stands for More Than Graphics, thepodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook by following hashtag MTGthepodcast. So until we meet again, we're reminding you that you are more than the work you produce. You are more than your name badge, and you are most definitely more than graphics. We'll catch you next time.
And just like that, the episode ends, but the convo has just begun.
Thanks for listening to the MTG podcast.
We want to hear from you. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it a review on your listening app of choice.
Continue to follow us across MTG social.
And look out for bonus content releases throughout the year. This podcast is produced by Octane Design Studios.
Until next time, friend.